Oh boy. Someone was 6 hours early? Nice. That's hilarious. But I'm guessing you're not still here, Alex, are you? Uh, Good morning. The alarm did not do me dirty this morning. Hold on one second. I'm gonna plug in my phone. I forgot to put my phone on my charger last night. Hello, Anoob. How are you? Also, do you want me to call you JRE Flashbacks like your old account, or you want me to call you Anoob? Or do you want me to call you something different? I wish YouTube would go back to showing me your display name. One second, I'm gonna plug in my phone to charge. Anu, okay, I can do that. Anu, easy peasy. I just don't want to go around calling people names they don't like, you know? We're here. We're here, and hey, just to point it out, I made a video about this yesterday because I was so excited about it. I had to tell somebody about it, so I just decided to tell the internet. Okay, full disclosure, I did not work on anything related to Casper yesterday. There was a meeting at my kid's school last night, and then I spent like 2 hours after work fighting with my kid's damn Microsoft and EA account because he wanted to try the new Battlefield VR, but EA blocks all child accounts now. It was a real pain in the ass. So, for the most part, we're picking up right where we left off yesterday. Yeah, so housekeeping, it's October 29th, so we have about another 2 days, 3 days. I guess we have 3 more streams, and then on November 1st, we're going to switch over just writing Go full time. And I'm not really sure, 100% sure what I'm going to do in Go, but I'm just going to spend every morning writing Go in hopes that it seeps into my brain so that I can hopefully be somewhat proficient at advent of code. Okay, if y'all were here yesterday, where we left off with Casper is we're trying basically to figure out how we test our workflow once it's all hooked up together. which we haven't yet successfully figured out, but that's what we're going to try to do today. Oh, I should probably also pin a message, shouldn't I? That would be good. Good housekeeping. Hey, what's up, MD? How are you? Good to see you, man. I hope life is treating you well. I hope life is treating you even better than you deserve. Let's see. Good morning. You know what this means. We are drinking coffee, trying to write some code, and I'm spending way too much time talking. Come hang out. Hey, what's up, Mahudeen? Mahudeen, I think is how you say your name. Hello, I Love Lamp. One of our illustrious YouTube members has entered the chat. There's only 58 YouTube members of this channel on planet Earth. So we appreciate each and every one of you, and thanks for being here. I Love Lamp. Good to see you again. Hello, Mahudeen. I want to be a backend developer. What path should I go with? Ah, man. First off, nice emojis. I Love Lamp. I like it. I like it. Very nice. Very nice. Man, that's a tough one, honestly, Mahudeen. If you want to be so I guess can I ask you a few contextual questions? Could I ask you roughly how old you are? You don't have to be specific, just ballpark it for me. Can I ask, are you in college, going to go to college? Do you have plans to study computer science or something? Do you currently have a job? Do you need a job? What's another good contextual question? Have you already done some amount of programming or coding before? Yeah, so just give me a little context. Because I think I could tell you about 100 different paths you could take, but I would be afraid that I'm going to just outright tell you the wrong one, you know? Oh shoot, did we not push up our changes from yesterday? We must not have. Yeah, we didn't. Git add. Excuse me. All right, so this is roughly what we're currently working on at the moment. All right, this is roughly what our workflow looks like. We have our user. The user talks to the interview. They go back and forth. When we have enough information, we go to the researcher. Researcher just goes immediately to the writer. The writer sends its work to the editor, unless the editor has feedback, and same thing with the critic, right? So this is where we kind of get into a little bit of a loop. And I know I have a bug here where this thing can basically go in an infinite loop, so that's something I need to fix. In any event, though, what I'd like to do is I'd like to be able to do this. I'm 20 in college. I have done some front end, but it's not really my passion. I've worked with JavaScript, some Python, recently started learning Java. Okay, so if you want to be, if you know that, okay, so I'm just gonna take some things out of the equation. I'm gonna assume you're gonna crush college and you're gonna finish it. I'm gonna assume that you like to program and you're pretty confident that's something you want to do for a living now that you've spent some time doing front end work. that you're confident that writing code and being involved in technology is the path for you. So assuming that, if you want to be a backend developer, I think the first thing you need to do is you need to spend some time outside of the front end, right? So you need to get some projects under your hat that expose you to building background processing, building web APIs, or some sort of REST API, right, that runs on the server. You need to get comfortable with creating containers using a Docker file, get comfortable with setting up some sort of CI/CD process that deploys applications to servers and gets them up and running. Be comfortable with hooking up OpenTelemetry in your applications on the back end. I mean, OpenTelemetry will work on the front end, but that tends to be observability, tends to be a lot of things companies and people think about as being kind of a back end responsibility. So OpenTelemetry, understand observability, understand how to deploy applications. And some of that stuff kind of butts up against traditional IT or DevOpsy roles, but I feel like as a backend developer, you need to be closer to that stuff than a front end developer would. And then as far as like languages to learn, that's wholly up to you, right? You can build backends in JavaScript, you can build backends in Python and Java, C#. Like you can pick whatever language that interests you the most. A tool? Hello? How should I refer to your name? You got a a a top a toply? Maybe a toply? Is how I'd say that. Oh, sorry, I love lamp. I missed your comment. I fixed my domain and site. Instead of redirecting to the website that someone else made, it now redirects to my old one. Nice. I didn't use a full stack because I don't have too much experience in it. I tried learning Svelte at one point, and though I could make a full website, so far I'm only using basic HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Hey, that's what I use sometimes. I don't think there's anything wrong with just good old vanilla HTML, vanilla CSS, vanilla JS. I don't think anybody should ever feel bad for reaching. Those are, though, regardless of whatever abstraction you're using, at the end of the day, you almost always end up shipping HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to the browser. So you should understand how to work with those primitives, those vanilla versions, because at the end of the day, whatever Vite, Svelte, whatever these meta frameworks, rendering frameworks, bundlers, whatever they're doing under the hood, that's what they end up shipping. So, do they make life better and allow you to work faster and get things done? Yes, but they're not necessarily inherently better, or you are inherently superior as a developer because you use Svelte versus vanilla JS. Alright, let's figure this the fuck out. What a wonderful to-do note I left myself. Okay, need to basically run the workflow and have it simulate receiving specific messages, then validate that the right events have occurred. Okay. Let's see. Fact. Public async task. I don't even know what really to call this. So I guess first and foremost, create async. When called, it should return a workflow. I guess that's the first thing. So we'll say var result equals system under test dot create async, and then we should say result dot should be not null, should not be null, Did not. Mahudin, what are you doing today? We're working on. This is what we basically have spent all of October working on. We're working on an application called Casper, and Casper is essentially a bunch of LLM calls that functions essentially to act as like my own personal ghostwriter. And then under the hood, Casper uses something called the Microsoft Agent Framework. So this is a newer framework that came out at the beginning of October, and I wanted to learn it. So that's the whole reason. That's the whole reason Casper, the idea of Casper came about. And so under the hood, it uses this guy, and so that's what we're working on. And we're at the part of the project where we basically have all the nuts and bolts wired together, and now I'm just polishing it. So I'm trying to add test coverage. Eventually, I'll get it published and into probably a CI/CD pipeline on GitHub Actions. But yeah, right now we're just kind of focused on writing tests. Because I kind of went on this tear of development where I just kind of flew back. I flew past the point where I should have been writing tests, and I'm trying to pay back some of that debt that I took on. So that's what we're doing. And tests are fun to write because tests often force you to think a little bit more clearly about what you've implemented, in my opinion. So I enjoy writing tests. I know not everybody feels that way, but I think a lot of people don't enjoy writing tests because they don't know how to do it, nor do they know how to write their code in such a way that writing tests feels not like a chore. You know, I think testing feels onerous a lot of times because you don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing, and your code is written in such a way that makes it very hard to write reasonably, how do I say it? Reasonably easy tests to be written against it, maybe is the way to put it. Basically, I'm just saying it's a skill issue. Let's see. Okay, cool. That worked. So I think there's probably some other assertions I could chain on here. I'm not really sure what all properties this guy exposes. Oh, whoops, I should be awaiting this. So result dot description, input type, name, start executor ID. Start executor ID might be an interesting one to configure sub workflow. Interesting. You can nest workflows inside. There's some stuff that I'm still reflect ports, reflect edges. What does reflect ports do? Gets the collection of external request ports keyed by their ID. Each port has a corresponding entry in the Microsoft Registrations Dictionary. So can I do like var ports dot should dot contain I wonder how this gets entered here. Key, maybe? Key is user. Like that. Oh, so maybe this. Yeah. Okay, so it does. The way I know that contains a user port is because that's what I named it. over here was user port. Okay, so what about all of my executors? I should probably verify that all my executors are there, huh? So I think I don't even know. I don't even know what their IDs are. So reflect, let's see, var IDs equals result dot reflect edges. Do they have one where you can reflect the executors? Interesting. You can't reflect the executors, but you can reflect the edges and the ports. String gets the collection of edges grouped by their source node identifier. See what this looks like. See what this data looks like. Hello, Gaudy Python. I remember you. I remember that username. Gaudy Python, nice. Let's see, step over. Let's see. Where are we at here? I tell you what, debugging in a really small windows count. Okay, so we have user, we have interviewer, we have researcher, editor, critic. Okay, so we can, I think what we can do is we can actually, man, we could actually assert all of this stuff, couldn't we? Whoopsies. Need to make my window a little bigger for a second. So has condition, false, connection, direct. Huh. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do here, so I'm just going to add some assertions to verify that what we'll do is we'll say result dot reflect edges dot should dot contain a key that equals the name of what? Interviewer? Although I don't think this is actually going to work because I think this actually, the interviewer is lowercase. Oh no, it's uppercase, okay. Then we can say, we'll just do this for each of the executors that we think should be there. So we have interviewer, we have our researcher. We have our writer. We have our editor. And we have our critic. I think that's all of them. Okay, they're all there. I'm avoiding writing the actual test. So we have interviewer, researcher, writer, editor, critic. So there's 5 of them. Wonderful. excuse me. Git add git commit add workflow factory test, like that. Anybody dressing up for Halloween? Well, actually, I don't know. Do any of you guys celebrate Halloween? I know not everybody here is American, so I'm not sure how big of a deal Halloween is outside of the United States. Which, if you didn't know, that's why like the stream picture the last couple days has been kind of like Halloween themed, is because Halloween is getting ready to happen here in the United States. Noob, are we on track to finish this project? I think so. I mean, well, it's already in a state where I can use it. It probably won't be completely like wrapped up on the 31st, so I'll probably work on finishing a little bit in the evenings in November. But once we get to November 1st for stream purposes, we're gonna switch over and just do Go. Yep, Go. Yep, we're gonna do. I don't really know what projects or what things we're going to work on in Go. That hasn't really, I haven't really sat down to think about that. I just know I want to spend, a couple hours or more a day leading up to Advent of Code writing Go, and I know there's some things that I need to figure out how to do. Like, I know one of the things I'm going to have to do in Advent of Code a lot is I'm going to have to read a file from disk. So I need to figure out how to do that because I don't know how to do that in Go. I know I'm going to have to implement probably depth first search and breadth first search in Go. So I need to make sure I understand how to like implement a queue. C# has some really nice types and things that allow you to do that pretty effortlessly. And I know in TypeScript, you just use like an array, but you push and pop. But like, how do you do that in Go? Just some basic things like that about the language of like, how do you accomplish like these basic tasks that I don't want the first time I have to figure it out to be when I'm trying to solve the puzzle on December 1st, you know what I mean? Do you know Go already, or are you going to learn Go on the go? So I've dabbled in Go a little bit this year. So maybe we spent a cumulative week in total time writing it, so still learning it, but I wanted to do something different than C#. C#'s what I used the last 2 years, so I feel like Advent of Code is a great excuse to learn a new language because it exposes you to sort of those LeetCode style like problems, but they're themed in a fun way. You're sort of doing it with a bunch of other people who are doing it, right? And I also feel like it's a really good way to benchmark your progress from year to year. Like, do you feel like this year solving Advent of Code felt easier than last year, or do you feel like there's things that you picked up over the last year that have made you better at it? So it's kind of almost like a way to measure your programming ability from year to year by participating in it. And who doesn't like a good Christmas themed, holiday themed event? Noob, that's very kind of you. Yes, we have 60 or so people here. 57, I think, is what we're at right now. So, good morning, all. Hope you guys are doing well. No pressure. You don't have to like the stream. But if you would like to like the stream, I would like you to like the stream. Alright, I'm gonna... So I think right now, one of the things I'm having a hard time with is I'm trying to think of the workflow a little bit too... I think I'm overwhelming myself a little bit with how I do these tests. So I'm just gonna narrow the scope of the test. And I'm gonna come here to the interviewer. I'm gonna add a case here that says New file. So do I want to do that? I'm trying to think, do I want to do that here? I'm trying to think where I want these tests to live. I'm gonna put them here for now. Okay, public async task. I don't really know what to name this. I'm just gonna start with a stupid name. I'm gonna start with a stupid name and then I'll make it better. So when workflow begins with question, it should prompt user. So if we do var workflow, Don Mox, thanks for the subscription, man. Let's see, system under test create async. Okay, so this means we have a workflow. Now we have to run this workflow, and so the way we do this in our actual production code is in this guy. So this is the way we run it in our actual production code. We pass it to this static method that is called in-process execution. And we say stream async. And we pass it all this stuff. So what does this guy do under the hood with the workflow? So the workflow creates a runner. And what does the create runner method do? The create runner method does what? It news up an in-process runner with a checked workflow, a checkpoint ID, and a run ID. Okay. So what does the runner do? The runner gets passed to stream async. And what does stream async do with it? Stream async just calls the runner.stream async. Okay. So this is kind of a convenience wrapper method. And what does Agent Framework do for their testing? So if we go to .NET, Tagomali, hello Tagomali, Tigo, I think is what we decided on, right? Tigo is what we decided. Sorry, I'm trying to remember, I'm trying to make sure I pay attention to people who come to my stream more than once and make sure I remember their names and what we talked about referring to them as. YouTube needs to give me a way that I can like mark your guys's, like I can change your names to what what you want to be called. So I'm not just referring to you by a name you don't like. Oh, this is not where I want to be in tests, don't I? Tests. So what do they do in here? They've got, let's see, workflow unit test. Let's see, edge runner tests. What does edge runner do? You can kind of see like they're basically running, they're kind of writing the same kind of test that I am, where they're creating these workflows and then they're processing them and trying to make sure that things end up where they're supposed to. Okay. So let's try to do this. It'd be nice if I could find one where it shows it getting input from the user. That would be a nice one to see how they do that. How do they test getting input from the user? You're good, man. I work in retail and I forget even the regulars' names. Yeah, but you know, you just want to be thoughtful about that because you know, people's names are important. You know, that's how the world identifies them. Test echo agent. Hold on, am I not in the right set of tests anymore? I feel like I'm in the wrong set of tests. All right, let's just see what happens. Let's try this. So we're basically gonna take what we have here. And we're gonna put that in our test over here. Test context dot current dot cancellation token. Let's do run async. And then what can we say? Run dot stat. New events, outgoing events. NG Tontai. Hello, how are you? Good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. We are currently in the process of trying to do what we failed to do yesterday, and was to figure out how to write tests for this agent workflow that we wired together. Evan, good morning, Steven. Thanks again for the advice the other day. Hope you have a great day. Of course, Evan. Yeah, man. Thanks for stopping in and saying hi. Always happy to chat with you, and I hope you crush your goals, man. I can't wait till you come back to the stream and tell us about the first deal you closed or the first clients you helped. That will be very exciting to hear. Get status async. Okay, that's how you do that. Brooke Getta, thanks for the subscription. Thanks for the subscription, Brooke. Good to have you here. Yes, sir. Yep, you know it, man. You're gonna get it. Gonna get it. Okay, then we'll say status. Shot should dot be a particular run status dot ended. I don't know. I honestly don't know what the status should be. I just want to see what happens. It's interesting because this is why this is interesting is because in my workflow, I basically have a blocking call in my workflow. So in my workflow, whenever the first thing my workflow does is it says, hey, if you get a question, you need to ask the user for input. And when we ask the user for input, let's see, that's over here. Whenever we get a request input info event, we call this ask user question function. And this thing essentially blocks, like it runs a while loop until somebody gives it an input. And so I'm halfway thinking I'm gonna have to like abstract this, because I honestly, like, I'm running a test, so I don't have any way to like respond to it asking for a console input. So I think I might have to abstract this so that some way in my tests I can basically input whatever the user would input into the terminal. So this might need to, we might have to do some work on that to get this to work, because I'm thinking when I run this it should just sit there and run. Oh no, it didn't. Expected status to run ended, but found pending request. So it doesn't block, huh? Interesting. Okay, so what is the pending request? Bar pending requests equals run dot new events dot run ID dot outgoing events. What are outgoing events? Gets all events emitted by the workflow. Fair enough. To list like this, and we'll just set a breakpoint here. Whoops, that's not what I meant to do. We want to set a breakpoint. What is this? We're gonna say DT, and then we're gonna say TD. Yes, sir. How are you? Hey, what's up, Caleb? Caleb is one of our YouTube members. There's only 58 of them on planet Earth. Good to have you here, Caleb. Good to see you, man. Oh, that threw an exception, so I'm gonna remove that. Hello, let's see. Hello, chat. Hope you're doing great. Yes, Yasir, we are doing well. Can you explain what Casper is, like a simple gist of it? Oh, yeah, for sure. So it's basically just a series of LLM calls that, at the end of the day, prompt an LLM to write a blog post. That's basically what it is. So this is the diagram that we created. This is actually really cool. So under the hood, we're using something called Agent Framework to build Casper. So this is a library for .NET and Python. So if you're not in the .NET world, first of all, you should be. Second of all, if you're in the Python world, this is relevant to you as well. So if you're familiar with things like LangChain, this is very much in that same vein, where it's a library that's supposed to make building things with AI easier to do and integrate into your existing applications or new applications. And it actually has this feature where you can build a workflow, right? You can model a workflow, and then you can produce from it visualizations, right? So you can produce mermaid diagrams like this. So at a high level, each one of these agents that you see on the screen that I have by represented by a square here, right? These are all essentially LLM calls. So each box there that you see is basically an LLM call. But we call them agents from an architectural standpoint because they are sort of their own isolated persona, where each call to the LLM for each of those boxes has its own specific system instructions, right? Or it has ability to call certain specific tools. But basically, it's a series of chained LLM calls that then, based on the responses, I route data through this workflow based on what comes back from the LLMs. So it's not like a super complicated thing that I'm building. It's basically a series of calls and responses to and from a large language model to, at the end of the day, get a post out, a markdown file that I can then basically react to, right? So instead of me having an idea and then having to write out 4 or 5 paragraphs and just like come up with all that, I can essentially, hopefully, have Casper go from like 0 to 1 on the idea. Like, oh, you have this idea, great. I'm your personal ghostwriter. Let me draft you a 5-page rough draft of what that could look like, flushed out as like a proper blog post. Okay, here you go. Now you go and make it your own, right? Because the blank page is honestly the scariest part of creating or building anything. It's the thing that takes the most effort to get over in a lot of cases. I'm gonna put this down below here. So that's what we're doing. Basically, they are sub agents if we talk about it in the Claude language. Yeah, so yeah, you could definitely. I mean, agents are just, people make agents out to be way more than they are. They're just I made a whole series of videos about this on my channel. People make agents. People have all kinds of weird language they want to use, but I mean, an agent is just Black J. Thanks for the subscription. An agent is just a way to architecturally represent. I missed that last subscription, but thank you very much. An agent is just a way to architecturally organize prompts, right? Tool calls, and a particular model, right? So you have an LLM. How you want to orchestrate this all in code is one thing, but at the end of the day, it all boils down to this. You have an LLM, you have a prompt, and optionally, you may or may not have tools and functions that agent can work with, and we're just organizing them into what we call an agent. Because if the large language models supported it, we could just dump all the context and all the tools and all the instructions into a single prompt, right? Like, I don't, like, as a human being, for example, like, as a human being, like, I can wear all these hats, right? I can be an interviewer, researcher, writer, editor. I can do all this. A ghostwriter can do all of these things with just a single human being, right? But if we were to try to take a system prompt and write it for each one of those roles and responsibilities, and then stuff that into a context window, and if your agents had a whole bunch of tools they could potentially use to accomplish their workflow or accomplish their task, and stuff that into the context, their performance would be really shitty. We know that LLMs degrade, their ability to do things degrades really, really quickly when the context window gets out of control, and the number of tools they have to choose from increases. They get really bad at picking the right tool. So we basically came up with this idea of agents, which are like, architecturally, they're similar to like folders for files in a lot of ways. Soon Soren, hey man, I just subscribed, really admire your work. Do you think I need to learn full stack to go into blockchain development? Well, first off, 2 things. 1, thank you for subscribing. 2, I appreciate that you enjoy some of the stuff I'm making. 3, to your last question, or I guess your actual question, I don't know anything about blockchain development, like nothing. So I would hate to give you really any good advice, or I'd hate to really give you any advice on that because I just don't know what it takes to be a blockchain developer. Yeah, I don't know. maybe you need to be full stack. I wouldn't think so. Like blockchain development to me seems almost like a subspecialty of like the larger software ecosystem. So I'm not really sure what's all involved in that type of a development. So I'm sorry I can't be more helpful there. You'll see here, actually I have experience with LangChain with TypeScript and want to poke into .NET. How would you suggest me jump into .NET? For context, I do have 9+ years of software experience. So you see here, so .NET has 3 different languages that you can write for the .NET platform. So you can write, I think it's F#, C#, or VB.NET are the 3 languages. If you're coming from a TypeScript background, I would encourage you to check out C#. Although I've heard wonderful things about F#. I've just never tried it myself. If you're coming from a TypeScript background, I think you'll pick up C# without any issue. Like it'll click, I think, for you really quickly. I would probably point you to freecodecamp.org. They have a pretty straightforward beginner certification introductory course on right here, free foundational C# with Microsoft certification. This will probably be so if you already have 9 years of software experience, this course, like it'll be very simplistic for you, but it'll teach you the basics of the C# language, which I think is probably the best place to start. So here, I'll put that in chat for you, Yasir, so you can check that out if you're interested. And then from there, get off to the races, man. Once you have the basics of the language down, then you're just building software like you would in TypeScript. You're just doing it in the C# world. Electromatic GitHub link. Yeah, so you can find almost all of my stuff. You can just go to like whatever the social is .stephenfreeborn.com. So for GitHub, my GitHub link is github.stephenfreeborn.com. And I just put that in the chat if you're curious. The GitHub link for this project is in the description of the stream. So if you go to the description of the stream, the GitHub link for that is here, or is there, as well as the link for the agent framework. That's also in the stream description. So if you're curious about checking out the agent framework, that's where you can find that. Melty, man, how close are you to finishing this? I know I've been working on it for a while, haven't I? I'm probably one solid night's work away from it. Like if I just sat down and from like 8 o'clock to midnight just hammered at it, I could probably be done in an evening. The problem is that I've been working on it while streaming, so it's kind of like dragged out. But that's the fun of having a project to do on stream, because we have sort of a running thread to follow. I need to make this a little bigger so I can see the... Oh, sorry, I missed that subscription. Thanks for subbing, man. Yasir, thanks, man. Of course, yeah. I'm happy to talk C# with anybody, anytime. Okay, interesting. So it looks like when I do this, whoopsies. When I do the, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to go about doing this, and I'm trying to inspect the code while it's running. So I have 7 pending requests here, is what the debugger is showing me. I have 7 pending requests. Why is this watch window taking up all this room? So the first one is the super step started event. And then there's a bunch of other events here of a variety of types. So we have executor invoked. We have a request info event, executor completed, executor invoked event. And then we have the user. And we have the super step completed event. So basically, we took in the question, we asked for more information from the user. So basically, the way this workflow works is the user which I think that makes sense. So we have a port. The first thing we run with our workflow is we run it with a question. That should immediately go to the interviewer. And then in the interviewer, right? So if we go to the logic for this guy, where is it? The first thing we do from the interviewer perspective is we make an LLM call. So that's what we're doing here. We make an LLM call. And we pass that back. And if the LLM says, hey, we need more information, then we send a message that is of type question, which then comes back out here. Request info event. So how does now I'm confused about how my own app works. So how does the request info event get emitted? Where does that happen? I am using Gemini. Yep. PX4 morning, you're up early. Yes, PX4. We moved the stream to 4:15 in the morning. So we've been streaming from every day for the last several weeks, or a couple weeks. We've been streaming from 4:15 to 7 a.m. Sayun Soren. Oh, thanks, man. I really appreciate your insight. So what are the best AI path newcomers looking to go into AI creation? I'm not sure what you mean by best AI path newcomers. I guess what you're asking is like what things you should be looking at if you want to do stuff with AI. I'm not really sure I'm the best person to advise you. I mean, I think if you want to actually be working on AI, right? Like you want to be building these large language models or evaluating these large language models, there's only a handful of companies in the world that are doing that work. So you'd probably have to go and see if you can't figure out a way to get to one of those companies. If you just want to build things with large language models, right? You just want to learn how to integrate large language models into your applications to facilitate pieces of functionalities or features. You know what? I completely forgot to drink my coffee, and now I think it's cold. Then I think the key for you is you need to just get the basics. Like you need to figure out who the large language model providers are. You need to figure out how to work with their APIs. You need to probably write some simple chat GPT wrapper like application so that you can figure out how to make requests, how to handle responses, figure out the basics of how tool calling and function calling works, figure out the basics of prompting, how do you write a decent system prompt, those sorts of things. That would probably be the best place to start because there's kind of right now in the AI world, there's kind of two pieces of the stack, right? There's the people out there that are doing all the machine learning and data science. They're the ones building the large language models, doing the fine tuning. These are the guys that know how to work with the TensorFlows and the PyTorches of the world, right? There's that layer of the stack, kind of almost like the infrastructure, so to speak, right, of this generative AI world. And then there's kind of where I sit, at least, uh, maybe not you, but at least where I sit, where I'm more of a user of the models, right? So I'm using LLMs as a service, as another piece of technology to facilitate functionality in applications. So depending on where you kind of want to fit in that ecosystem, right, kind of dictates where you go and what you do in a lot of ways. And one is much more difficult than the other, in my opinion. Are you using Gemini for? Yeah, I use Gemini for almost everything this year, um, because I pay for Gemini already. So paying for API usage isn't really a big deal. Their API usage has a pretty generous free tier. Their models, Kevin, thank you for subscribing. Their models are super capable and multimodal, so you can do a lot with them. Um, yeah, I think Gemini's a good service. I've also used Anthropic's API a lot, the Claude family of models. I've used those a lot. I would recommend that as well if you're interested in that. I've used OpenAI's service, but I haven't used it that much. So that's kind of like the third choice if you had to rank them. This will not be. Oh, this probably won't be a web app. It'll probably just stay a console app, because it's literally an application I'm purely building for myself, right? Like, it'll be on my GitHub, so if other people want to use it, great. But it'll literally just be a CLI tool that I invoke from the command line. Similar to, some of you probably weren't here when I built this, but very similar to, I have a tool that I built called Stream Shorts. So this is a CLI tool. This actually might have a GUI one day. I just haven't worked on it. But it's basically a CLI tool that just helps me create content, right? Or makes my life easier creating content. So Casper will be like my ghostwriter. Stream Shorts is like my personal little LLM-powered shorts editor that I use. And honestly, if I'm being 100% honest with you guys, those are the tools or apps that I enjoy building the most, is the tools that just kind of scratch an itch that I have, right? They solve a particular problem that I have, and they solve that problem well, and they deliver a lot of delight and joy in my life. And if other people want to use it, great, but it's really just for me. I also built another project I built this year that was a lot of fun to build. This is called, what did I call this? I think I called this BGR. Yeah, BGR. This is a CLI tool that does background removal. So if you're familiar with like Canva has this functionality where you can just upload an image, and with one click, it'll remove the background. It feels like magic every time you use it. However, it is a paid feature, and so I don't want to pay. Canva's nice, but I don't want to pay for another subscription service. And it was really the only paid feature that I was using on Canva. So I sat down and was like, can I recreate this functionality myself, in like a separate tool, and then I can upload the outputted image to Canva for further editing. So again, this is just a simple little CLI tool that solves a very specific problem. But it's a lot of fun to make. It was a lot of fun to make this, and it's a lot of fun to use it every day. Okay, so I think the request port is what emits the request port is what emits the request info event. Is the request port is what does that. So the port is what facilitates emitting these events. All right. So what we could say, well, we can assert some stuff about this state. So if we run the workflow and all we've done is we've given it a question, what we can say is that the status dot should be in a run status of pending requests. And if we go to the not status, but if we go to run dot there should be a run dot events. New events, I guess. I wonder what the difference is between new events and outgoing events. Var new events equals run dot new events var dot outgoing events. If I had to guess, they're probably the same in this case. So I think the new events always holds whatever events occurred from the last time you called run async. Because you can call resume on this. But I think these are likely the same thing. If I had to guess. Did my keyboard just die? There we go. Here is 12 a.m. Nice. Well, here is 5:24 a.m. Alright, I'm guessing if you look under the hood at these things. Yeah, these are exactly the same thing. So what is so outgoing events, what does it say in the property description for these things? Gets all events emitted by the workflow since the last access to run.newEvents. Oh, interesting. So once you access it, it resets it. Gets all events emitted by the workflow. So this, I think what we can do then is we can say, okay, it should be in a pending request, and then we should be able to say status.should, or not status. We should be able to say run.outgoingEvents.should.contain. Contain in consecutive order. That's a nice assertion. Contain in order. That's nice. Okay, contain E, and E is request info event. So it should contain a request info event. Which it does. Okay, yes. So now we just need to figure out how to recreate this run dot So I wonder what the difference is between, I guess the difference is I think if I change this to stream async, I think what this will do is then on run, I think I can send messages in. Attempts to send the specified message asynchronously and returns a value indicating whether the operation was successful. Creators Minecraft. How to host a website? Is there any legal process to do what's different in localhost project and real project? Let's see, how to host a website. So the first question, how to host a website, is you're gonna need to get some sort of server or some sort of, yeah, I mean, you're gonna need some sort of web server or something, some piece of software that can handle incoming requests to a machine and respond to it. Now, there's lots of services that will abstract that away from you, so you can use GitHub Pages or you can use Vercel or Heroku. I mean, there's lots of services out there that will take care of that kind of bare metal complexity for you. So it's really just up to you on like how much do you want to be responsible for? Do you want to actually set up your own server with a reverse proxy on it and then deploy your application to that machine and then configure your reverse proxy to proxy request to your application that's running locally, right? Or do you even want to use a reverse proxy? Do you just want to have the machine host a single website that's bound to the the HTTP and HTTPS ports? That's completely like up to you. You have to decide all that. I think 9 times out of 10, most people, if you're just looking to host a static website, like a brochure website that's just going to have a bunch of static content, you can probably just get away with using something like GitHub Pages, which if you do a Google search for GitHub Pages, there's like 1,001 tutorials about how to deploy a GitHub Pages site. Is there any legal process to it? There's always going to be legal stuff. So most websites, I'm not a lawyer, nor do I pretend to be one on the internet, so I don't want to try to give you legal advice. But 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to want some sort of terms and conditions page on your website. You're probably going to want some sort of privacy policy displayed on your website somewhere on a page that users can get to. I think there might be some requirements around having those for your site. There's also quite a bit of, whenever you visit, I'm sure you guys have seen this, whenever you visit a website and the website has a pop-up that tells you about cookies and then allows you to accept or reject those cookies. So there's some legality around if you're using cookies for things like analytics or tracking people for marketing purposes, you have to disclose that and you have to give people the ability to opt in or out of that. So that's something that usually comes up when you have a website at some point. But a lot of it, from a creator perspective or an individual perspective, a lot of it is you're assessing risk, right? So like, if you just want to put some web pages out there on the internet for people to consume some content or peruse something or market something, the likelihood that someone's going to take issue with the fact that you don't have a terms and condition page on your website is pretty low, right? So, But if you're probably like trying to build a business where you're like actively selling things, actively trying to get customers, that sort of thing, well then yeah, you want to do your due diligence and make sure all your I's are dotted and your T's crossed. So it's kind of a spectrum, right? It's like if you're just like tinkering around on the internet, and sharing things with people and there's no promise or exchange of value or anything like that, um, I wouldn't worry about it too much. But if you're trying to like build a business, accept people's payments over the internet, those sort of things, then you probably want to have you probably want to talk to a lawyer, maybe make sure that you're following all the rules. Do a quick Google search for what what rules and regulations do I need to be in compliance with for a website in my country, in my state, type of thing. Do a little bit of digging around. So what's the difference in localhost project and real project? So the difference between a localhost project and a project that you make publicly accessible to other people is purely just the level of seriousness with which you treat the project. That's the really only difference. I mean, you can treat a project that runs locally in your home network and on your computer, you can treat it like a very serious project, you know. Uh, and you can deploy a website out to the public and treat it like a very silly, low key project, So it's kind of up to you and the context that you're working in. Everything's context dependent. I'm a .NET Razor dev. I will have my first client. Give me some advice how to deliver a working website. I'm a little confused and scared. Oh well, I'm sad that you're confused. I'm sad that you're scared. But maybe it could be a good thing, right? You're doing something new. You're stretching yourself. What would be my advice? Well, do you know how to build a web? I mean, you're asking how do you deliver a working website? You said you're a .NET Razor dev, and you're asking me how to deliver a working website. I would guess at this point you know how to build a website with ASP.NET, or I'm assuming that box is already checked. Yeah, I'm assuming that box is already checked. So if you know how to build a website locally, right, on your machine, well now all you need to do is be able to build that and deploy that to a box that it's going to run on and you're going to make publicly accessible. So now that has a whole host of steps, right? So you might want to go and do like some trial runs of how you would do that before. The don't make the first time you build and publish an ASP.NET app and deploy it to the internet. Don't make the first time you do that the first time you need to deliver this client's website. You should probably take an evening or two, take one of your existing projects that you've already built, because I'm guessing you've already built some websites, and see if you can't get that deployed somewhere, right? See if you can't get it deployed somewhere and get traffic routed to it. I would do that like sooner, because you don't want your client. It's okay to learn, but it's okay to learn new things as you're doing work, but you don't want the client to have to pay for your learning, in terms of like it takes longer for them to get their website, or it doesn't work, or you say it works and then they send people there and it crashes, things like that. So I would take some time and make sure that you're confident that once you have the website working on your machine, that you can actually get it deployed and available to people to actually use. That's probably where I would start. Okay, here we go. I think the other thing I wanted to do up here was I wanted to do result dot start executor ID should dot be. I'm a college student who build website, didn't know anything. That's why I'm a little scared. Yeah, well, that's why I would probably encourage you then. Um, I this is all context dependent, so I don't know who your client is. I don't know the situation you're in. Maybe your client is fully aware that you. How do I say this? Maybe your client is fully aware that you're new and you're learning. So maybe none of this is something to be concerned about. But yeah, if I was you, that's where I would. If you've built a website, great. You need to do a little bit of research about how you get that website deployed, right? So how and deploying an ASP.NET site is a little different than deploying, a vanilla HTML, JavaScript, and CSS site because you're going to have a build step, you're going to have a compile step in there. Then you're going to need to take the stuff that was built and compiled, and you're going to need to put that somewhere to host it, right? So, are you going to FTP those artifacts and those outputs to a folder somewhere? On a server? Are you going to use ISS to host and serve the website? Are you going to use Nginx? How you need to work out that part of your process or that part of your business. How are you going to actually publish and deploy these sites so that the clients can actually send traffic to them? My approach is, I'll just share it with you. I mean, there's a half a dozen ways you can go about this, and I'll just share how I do it. The nine times out of 10, the way I deploy web apps or websites is I use a container and I run it in Docker behind an Nginx reverse proxy. So I have, if you look at, for very simplistic architecture, this is what it looks like. Let me go down here. So I got my app, right? So this is like what the thing that I've been building. I build that, right? So I build the app, whatever that looks like. If that's a npm run build, or if that's a .NET build, right? .NET publish, whatever that is, I build the artifacts, and then I containerize it. So at the end of the day, I'll have a container, or I guess an image for Docker if I'm using the proper parlance. So I'll have an app, and then I'll have an image, and usually this has a Docker file that facilitates this Docker file. So a Docker file basically is the instructions that tells Docker how to create an image for your application, right? Then once you have the image, I will have a server, right? So this is like a VPS, right? It could be a virtual one. It could be a bare metal one, right? Just whatever your situation is. And what I do is I take the image. And I push it up to an image registry. In this case, I usually just use Docker Hub. Right? So app, Docker file, get my image. My image gets pushed up to Docker Hub, but you could use a different image registry if you wanted to. Then to actually get the app running on the VPS, I pull from Docker Hub. Or I guess this should be a different arrow. I pull from Docker Hub, so I SSH into my VPS. I pull down the image from Docker Hub, and then I run the image. So now there is a little container running on Docker. That is my app. So this is essentially the basic, this is like the basic approach I take almost all the time now to self-host stuff, to deploy stuff on my own machine. And then how people get to it is on my VPS. If we zoom in here, on my VPS, I have, you know things are getting serious when we start drawing boxes everywhere. I'll have, how do I fucking, I want this box. I want to click this box. There you go. I'll have Nginx. So Nginx will take traffic that's coming into this VPS. You know, so these are like incoming requests from the users. Give me that page or give me that image or whatever. And Nginx will be configured to proxy requests to my application, right? So Nginx running on port 80, port 443, and then in the Nginx configurations, I basically defined configuration that says, hey, for this server name or this domain name, take all requests for that and proxy it to this local host. And that's 99.9% of what I do now for deployment looks like this. I mean, I have stuff hosted on Vercel. I have this stuff hosted on Heroku. Like I've used those services before, but nowadays this is, I feel comfortable doing this now, and it's very simplistic. It gives me a lot of control. I don't have to worry about running up huge bills on other people's services. I don't have to deal with cold starts on the free tiers of a lot of those services. So this is most of what I do now. How many people are watching? What do we have? Last time I ran a command, it was 53. Oh, we're at 73 people? Nice. Well, good to have you all here. Appreciate you guys being here. Gun, good to see you. Appreciate the familiar face. And Keat, what you building today? And Keat, it's just more of the same. We're still working on Casper. After a long day, I joined your live. Well, I appreciate you being here, even after a long day, man. I hope it was a good long day and not like a bad long day, because those exist, right? You can have long days that were a lot of fun, or you can have long days that were just a complete shit show. I'm sorry, man. I can't read your username. It's not really a you problem. It's more of a me problem. I just don't know that language. Hi, Stephen. What is your advice for me? I built some add-ins for architectural software using C#. How can I generate money from that? Well, first of all, that's awesome that you write C#. I'm trying. I'm kind of on a personal crusade to get more people to come to the C# side. It's particularly TypeScript dev. So if you're a TypeScript dev and you've ever been curious about C#, I would love to not convince you, because I'm not really trying to convince you, but like I would love it if you gave C# a try, and I'd be happy to help facilitate your experience trying C# or supporting your experience trying C#. As far as how to generate money from that, so I think it's really cool that you built it for an existing piece of software. I feel like that's a really underrated approach to making money off of the code you write, you know? Like it makes a lot of sense to build stuff for a platform that already has users, right? It's kind of like building Chrome extensions or building Fortnite mods or Roblox worlds, right? It's like there's a huge user base already there, so you might as well just build on that platform. Shaheen, thanks for subscribing. I appreciate it. But yeah, I guess my advice would be, if you want to make money, if you want customers, you have to go find the customers, right? So a lot of the times what I see, so I used to run a personal training business. So for three years, in my hometown, I had a personal training gym. And I think what happens a lot of times in the tech ecosystem, or at least in like indie dev land, is you think you're going to build something and you're going to put it on your GitHub or you're going to deploy your website and people are just going to know about it, right? Or that you're going to go on X and you're going to post on X or you're going to post on Reddit and then like it's just going to take off one day. But if you want customers now, you need to go seek them out. You need to go to the places where those customers are, introduce yourself, speak, and show them what you built and why it's valuable, how it can save them time, right? So you actually have to, like, if I needed to get a customer today for my business, I would not spend my time posting on X, posting on Twitter, posting on Blue Sky, making YouTube videos, pushing stuff to GitHub. What I would do is I would go to wherever I can find people who might like the thing that I used, right? So in your case, architectural software, you need to go to the people who use that architectural software. So do you know of architecture firms that purchase and use that software? I'm guessing probably, since you built plugins for it. You need to go there and talk to those people and be like, hey, I know you use this software. I added these plugins. Here's why I think they might be useful. And be prepared to have your laptop and demo it right there for them. Right? So you need to actually get in front of actual real human beings with actual money in their pocket and not rely on like ephemeral internet web marketing. That's my opinion. I mean, there's probably some hacky drop shipping bro out there that's like, nah, bro, buy my course and follow these 87 steps to sell your add-ins for architectural software. But if it was me, I would probably make a list of all the architecture firms within walking distance or driving distance of my home. I'd make a list on my notes app on my phone. I would go on Friday, take a Friday off work or a Monday off work, and I'd drive around and hit every firm and go in, introduce yourself, see if you can't talk to some of the architects, ask if they use the software that your plugins work for. If they do, ask if you can demo the add-in for them, and repeat until somebody agrees to pay for it. Couldn't hop on earlier meetings. Now I can type and listen. Good stuff. Hey, well, good to have you here, man. Props for building that people watching counter. Yeah, I was wondering if that could be made full live within Oh-My-Posh. I don't know if it can. It probably can. I don't think so, because I don't think this refreshes. I don't think there's any way to force this to redraw. I think this only gets redrawn when you run the command. So I'm not... If anybody knows how to do it differently or make it work, I would love to know. But I don't think it does. Or maybe we'd have to write like a custom... Like Oh-My-Posh has like custom segments for very specific services. Like the one I was thinking of is Night Scout that does the blood sugar. Let me see. Damn it. That's not what I wanted. Let me see. Night Scout. Yeah, so Night Scout. So this is so they actually have a segment, right? A type of segment that is Night Scout. And you give it these properties. And I think this one actually probably refreshes in real time, if I had to guess. Right? Because there would be, like, that would be kind of dangerous if you were basing your blood sugar off something that might be minutes or even half an hour old, depending on how often you run commands in your terminal. Let's see if I can find the code for that. This is Oh-My-Posh is all written in Go, by the way, if you guys didn't know. GitHub. How do I find? But I think in order to get it to work like that, we'd have to implement our own segment. There we go, GitHub. That or I'd have to have some sort of like worker process in the background that's like modifying, I don't know, modifying files or forcing my prompt to redraw every so often. But yeah, I had the same idea, and I was like, that would be so much cooler if it was real time. But then again, I have the real-time count in OBS, so it's like, does it really add that much value? I don't know. So here's where they get the result. Yeah, I'm not sure how Oh-My-Posh orchestrates calling this. Yeah. No, I don't know. I'm probably not going to spend any time on it, but if anybody can tell me, hey, this is how you make your little YouTube viewer count there live so it doesn't get stale, let me know. I'll tell you how my project went. Till then, thanks for the help. See ya, creators Minecraft. I hope good luck with your client. Good luck with deploying your website. Wish you all the best. And know your customer and build with them. Yeah, I mean, that's good advice. Definitely want to know your customer. I don't know if you always want to build with them though. You know, I'm always hesitant to include my clients. I'm always hesitant to give clients or customers the perception that they're in control of my business or that they have direct influence over my business. I want them to be valued. I want them to know that I value them as customers and clients, but I want to maintain a healthy boundary usually in the fact that like this is a business transaction and the agreement is you pay me X and you get Y. But just because you pay me X, it doesn't mean that you're entitled to tell me how to do Y or how to build Y or how to deliver Y, right? You're sort of voting with your dollars in that sense, right? So if you don't like how I deliver Y, you don't like how I build Y, you don't like my approach, then you don't have to be my client or my customer. I've had issues with that when I was running my personal training business. I had issues with clients that were like that. Clients who they sort of almost felt like they were entitled to tell you how to do something, how to run your business, what your cancellation policy should be, X, Y, Z, D. And it's like, no, wait, the money you pay is for me to provide you a service. It's not for you to tell me how to provide that service. If you don't like how the service is provided, then you can go work with a different service provider. So I'm always hesitant to like folding your client and your customer into your operational side of your business or giving them influence over it. It's one thing to like take feature requests, but I think it's just important that you're honest about that. Like, I appreciate your feedback, but I may or may not take action on it, right? But you definitely should know your customer. And if you need customers today, you should go talk to an actual willing customer that can pay you, not just faceless people on the internet. By the way, my name is Mohammed. It's written in Arabic language. Oh, of course, yeah, Mohammed. I'm happy to help. I would have called you from Mohammed from the get. I just can't read Arabic, unfortunately. I would love to be able to read Arabic. I can't. I haven't spent the time and effort to learn it. That Night Scout thing is interesting. I'll check it out. A lot of nice things can be made with it. I'll build you an app in textual for that. Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, if somebody can figure it out, that would be great. I think it's good enough for now. Hey, Arvin, good to see you. Inky, of course, not yes, I will do. Same we did with you habit pit build with Salesforce and they paid for feature. Nice. Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean I get what you mean, Inky. You definitely want to deliver value to your customer, and the only way you can deliver value to your customer is by knowing what they value. So you definitely want their input. It's important to like make sure that like customers and clients don't think they're always right, in my opinion. You know, you kind of heard that old adage of like the customer's always right. Like you should always, and I just have never been of that mindset from a business perspective. Like I fired clients as a personal trainer. Like if I felt like we just weren't a good fit or they were more work than what they were worth, like because you do in business, you inevitably do have clients that pay you the same amount of money, but are like 10 times less effort, right? And if you work at a company, you can probably tell me like this customer of ours is our problem customer, and this customer of ours is our most favorite customer, and you can probably tell me like I would happily trade 10 of those, for 10 of the other, all things being equal. Akshay, hello Akshay, thanks for the subscription, appreciate having you. Very kind of you to subscribe. We haven't been writing much code lately. We've been doing a lot of talking, which isn't necessarily bad. Let's see, task, public async task. So when workflow begins. Okay, so I think what I'd like to do here is I'd like to say when user answers question, interviewer should assess if it has enough info. I know, don't worry, I'm gonna fix these method names. I'm just trying to figure out the ergonomics of how to run this. Crow of Demis and Kari. I like fired the client. Oh yeah. So yeah, for sure. If you talk to any like service provider, you talk to hairdressers, doctors, physical therapists, personal trainers. If you talk to any service provider like that, that language will definitely come up. Like you have to be willing to have a back. I mean, when you're early on in your business and you're just trying to build a clientele, then you'll usually put up with more than you will in the opposite case. But once you have an established clientele and your business is running and your book is full, like it does, if you charge $300 a month for your service and you hire a client that is, I don't know, 20x more needy than the average, but you have somebody else who will happily pay that same $300 and they're 10 times less needy, as a service provider, it's a no-brainer. It's like, look, you seem like a nice person, but you're kind of a pain in the ass. You're kind of a Karen. Go work with somebody else, and then you just sign up the other person. So you'll hear that pretty often with people with those types of professions. Like, yeah, sometimes you just have to fire your client, unfortunately. Let's see, your sub counter on your thing doesn't live show. No, it doesn't. No, this prompt. Oh-My-Posh builds this prompt every time you run a command. So what's happening is, so you can see the slowness, right? So you can see the difference in speed. So what's happening is that this segment of my prompt is built using a command, and that command basically spawns a PowerShell process, runs my script, and then gets the output of that process and then displays it here. And my configuration right now is defined to cache it for 30 seconds. So as long as I don't run a command, as long as all my commands are run within the same 30-second window, it won't try to update that counter. It'll just use the cache value. So that's how it works. I haven't seen, and I don't know if there's a way to make it behave where I can basically sit here and just have that counter be updated. I'm guessing there's some hacky things I could do, like... Actually, I don't know, honestly. I don't know how I would make this redraw without it being very noticeable, right? Like, how would I redraw this and only update this value and do it in the background? That's just not something I think Oh-My-Posh supports out of the box. But obviously, if somebody knows how to make Oh-My-Posh do that, like, let me know. If you're looking to be nerd sniped for a day and you want to climb through the Oh-My-Posh code and try to see if you can't figure it out, go for it. This is fine for me, because like when I'm in the terminal and I'm running a command, it'll be updated, and when I'm not there, it doesn't really matter because I'm not really focused on the terminal. Shane Mugar, Sean Mugam. Sorry, I'm just gonna call you Shane. Sean. I'll call you Sean. Bro, remember me? I don't remember you, and I apologize, but I'm glad you're here. Gun highs cost mostly depends from time / quality measurement. True. You're right. Especially in a service industry, you know. And you know, if I have to spend 10 hours on a client versus 5 hours on a client, but both are saying me the same amount of money every month, one client costs more than the other, right? So if I can find another client that only costs me 5 hours a month for the same amount of money, well, I made an improvement in my business. Crow of Demise makes a good brand name. It really does. A lot of people have great usernames on YouTube. There's some people that have really trolly, shitty usernames that are just designed to get a reaction, but there's several people that I've interacted with on YouTube where I thought, I wish I was that creative. Well, that's kind of cool. I don't know. I only know Python. I'm actively learning it, but that's pretty interesting. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Python's awesome. Yeah. I'm not a big user of it. It hasn't really been the language that grabbed me, but I definitely see the draw, like the simplicity of it. You can do a lot in a few lines of code. So maybe time to ask AI if it can be helpful in such a thing. Oh, so you mean Mohammed, you mean ask AI if it can figure out how to make my Oh-My-Posh config display values in real time? We could do that. You want to? Have you ever tried Googling it? There might be some documentation on like refresh stuff. Oh, yeah. Yes, I've tried that. We were actually just looking. That's why I knew how to get to the Oh-My-Posh repo. That's how I knew how to get there. Here I've climbed through their documentation. Like that's how, I mean, how do you think I figured out how to put this here in the first place? Do you think I just like threw some shit against the wall? No, I went to their docs. And that's also how I knew how to go check and look up how they use Night Scout. Gun High's found an issue that owner, not from Oh-My-Posh, but you can create a custom shell function that redraws the prompt based on your custom logic. Ah. Well, of course you can do that. You're just gonna have a shell. You're just gonna have a shell function that, yeah, that's not very helpful. I don't want to do it in a hacky way though, right? I want to just use the existing framework. I don't want to hack around the framework. Hold on. What'd you say? Redraw? Right. Anyway, awesome function. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like, I mean, that's just one of those things where you're kind of like update. Yeah, here we go. Update segment in background without user interaction. Yeah. So you can't use Oh-My-Posh to do it, but you can create a custom shell function that, well, this is the maintainer, huh? Yeah, he closed it. Not something they're gonna support. Yeah, I mean that would be, I mean, wouldn't that be super annoying too if you're, it would be super annoying if you were in your terminal and something in the background was redrawing the thing as you were typing. Like that like you might have a user inputting text and you're trying to actively redraw the prompt. That seems like a complex issue to deal with. But it's a cool idea. I want someone else to solve it, not me. My bad. I don't know. It's complex for me. Yeah. No. Yeah. I definitely Googled it. But let's see what Gemini does, because I'm kind of interested if Gemini will try to shove a square peg into a round hole. Like, will it gaslight me into thinking that it's a skill issue and it can be done, or will it just tell me it can't be done? Let's see. I'm still getting used to the Zen browser and how you navigate it. Let's see. Okay. I'm using Oh-My-Posh in with PowerShell to customize my terminal prompt. I've added a command segment to display the current count of viewers on my live stream. However, this count is only updated when I enter a new command on my terminal. Is there a way that it can be automatically updated while the terminal is sitting idle? It doesn't really make when I type this out, though, it doesn't really make sense to do that, because if you're actually in the terminal, if you're actually doing work in the terminal, then you should be running commands enough, like often enough, to where it doesn't really matter that it's only updating every 30 seconds, right? It's not like we're just going to sit here and stare at the counter. So it doesn't really make sense that it needs to be updated in real time in that way when you think about the use case. But I'm curious if Gemini, no, there's no built-in way. Okay, great. Gemini's honest. You can add a script to your PowerShell profile that starts a background job. This job will run a loop that fetches your viewer count and updates the window tile every few seconds. Update the window tile? Oh, that's kind of cool. What? What's a window tile? Update the... Does anybody know what this is? I've never done this before in PowerShell. What's this? Kind of interesting. See, Anki. Real, laugh my ass off. I love getting gaslit by AI. Yeah, it'll do it to you sometimes. Emirate, thanks for subscribing. And I apologize if I ever say your guys' name incorrectly. I'm not trying to be an asshole. It's just sometimes I'm stupid and my American tongue doesn't know how to say words. Huh. I might have to play around with this, because that's kind of a cool idea. You know, if you can actually make a tile here that's just always updated in the background. It's kind of cool. Yeah, I'll have to play around with that. I think it's kind of a cool idea. Well, looky there, Gemini did not gaslight me, and it actually taught me something cool. So look, AI can be helpful. All right, so we basically are going to do the same thing here. So so the question is, at this point, how do I respond? How do I respond to the requested info? Right? That's the question. So I run it. It's now asked for user input. How do I send user input into the workflow programmatically without having a reference? Resume execution of the workflow with the provided extra. Oh, that must be it. Okay. So the input would be a chat message, I think, right? So if we go back to my application, we have an external response. Request.create response. So how does it create this response? Create response. There we go. So it says if throw if null, if this port info dot response type dot is match polymorphic. Okay, otherwise we just new up an external response with the port info and the new portable value. Oh, okay. So I think what we can do is we can do this, right? So we can say var request info event. We can say run dot new events dot first, and we can say where the first event, that is e dot is request info event, like this. And then what we can do is we can say request dot we can basically do what we're doing here. And then we can say as request info. Is there a way to like cast it? Oh, I bet if instead of using first, we could do select, right? Select. What's the easiest way to do that? I guess I could do this, and I could say as request info event, like this. I could just cast it that way. But I'm guessing there's an easier way to do that to get to the right type. But at this point now, what I can do is I can say re, and I can say re.request dot data is. So I can basically assume it's a question. But what I really want to do is I just want to create a response, right? So I can say var res equals request create response of type chat message. And then I can say new chat message is chat role dot user, and then pass in TypeScript. So that's the thing I want to write about. And then I can just resume with that res. I need to pass the cancellation. Okay, so I'm starting. I know it's literally taken me 2 whole streams to like wrap my head around how to do this, but I'm starting now to see how I accomplish this. This is an external response. Oh, I just need to put this in an array. Because this call is not awaited execute. Oh. Well, thank you for letting me know. And then, so basically what's happening here is we run it. We have an external event created. Now we're responding to the external event. So we're saying, hey, the workflow wants user input. Now we're giving the user input back into the workflow. We're resuming the workflow with the user input. And I think what's going to happen is something's going to break. I think we're going to try to make a response to we're going to make a request to Gemini, and it's not going to work. So let's come down here and say var status equals await run.get status async. I hate having to pass cancellation tokens everywhere. Let's see, status dot should dot be run status pending. All right, let's see what happens. I think this is going to throw an exception, is what's going to happen. Hey, Artwork Studio, sorry, I didn't mean to ignore you getting here. Found run status ended. Okay, cool. So it did throw an exception. Did it error? Danny, good to see you this morning, Danny. Thanks for subbing. Appreciate having you here. I'm assuming redrawing like interrupts your terminal. Yeah, if I had to guess, yes. But I guess we could do some experimentation and see what happens when you do that. Good to see you, Artwork Studios. Hope you're doing well. Body hurts and exam results mediocre. Damn it. Well, you know, we win some and we lose some, you know. There's actually a game that's built in TypeScript, and it's an MMO thing. It's pretty neat. I was a part of the community. I found a bug in there because it was basically leaking their Firebase stuff, from what I remember. Also, F the way you explain stuff. Very... Oh, also, I fuck with the way you explain stuff. Very digestible. Well, that... I have to explain it in a way that my small brain can understand. So... hopefully most of the time when I explain things, it doesn't sound very high-minded. I've said this before on stream. I just kind of take issue with how precious a lot of software engineers and developers are about like code and their work. Like I want to be good at it. Don't get me wrong. I do care about being good at software development. It's just some people are so precious about it, and it's weird because I don't come from a computer science background. I don't come from like a formal software development training background. Everything I've learned has been self-taught, but I do come from a technical background. My degree is in biochemistry. So like I come from a deeply technical background. I worked as a research and development scientist for a food company for 6 years. Like I understand what it means to be technical. I understand what it means to do hard science. I understand what it means to run experiments, to analyze data. Like I come from that world, right? But having been in that world, I honestly find that the software engineering discipline is filled with people who are way more precious about their work than I've experienced in any other field that I've been in to date. And so a lot of the times, the way I speak about software, the way I speak about programming and coding is largely just a reaction. It's like a countervailing force to all of those people out there that want to make you feel dumb and stupid because you can't write a breath first search from memory, or you can't assess the uh, big O notation of a method without thinking for more than 5 minutes. All right, I'm gonna just say 100 max, 40 passing mark, English 95, Chinese 21, and Malay 51. I mean, those aren't. I mean, I don't know. I mean, is that out of 100? Out of 100, yeah. And 40's passing. Well, you're passing, man. That's. I mean, hey, if you were my son, I'd ask you two questions. Did you try your best, right? And did you prepare? If you prepared, you did everything you could, and you tried your best. That's all you can ask for, you know? Now, if you didn't prepare and you didn't try your best, well, then we have a separate conversation, right? All right, so this actually completed, but I'm wondering if it completed because it caught an exception. Let's actually see if it's hitting the code that I expected to hit. Interviewer. This is my favorite thing about writing tests and being able to debug your test is you can basically use your test almost like a playground and you can step through it. Okay, so I'm thinking that this line is what it's hitting on. So let's see if that's the case. Let's debug this. Crow optimizes. That's pretty cool, dude. People explain code like that. They say what it does, but I don't really explain why and how. That's how I learn because I personally have a hard time to understand stuff. Yeah, I feel like you have to be able to. You have to be able to. So I've told this story before. I actually wrote a whole blog post about this story. I keep going off on tangents, guys. If you guys want me to stop going off on tangents, just tell me. I can focus, but I feel like since you guys are here, I want to prioritize you guys. But I wrote this blog post about this called this one right here. So I wrote this almost a year ago. More than a year ago. Yeah, more than a year ago now. So I had this professor in college. His name was Dr. Kramer. He doesn't work at I guess I'm not signed into LinkedIn here. He doesn't work at the same university I went to school at anymore. I think he works at the University of Arkansas, maybe. See if I can find him. Give him a shout out. He probably doesn't even remember me. Yeah, this guy. So, he actually works at the Kansas City University. So he's actually here in where I'm based out of. But he worked at Missouri Southern. He was a professor there at Missouri Southern while I was in school at Missouri Southern. And he taught cell biology was the course that I took from him. And it was the first class that I took a test and I just absolutely bombed the test. Like it was terrible. It was awful. And I felt like I had prepared really well. And I went to him the next day after getting the test results, and I explained, like, hey, I thought I prepared really well. I'm not really sure. Do you have any advice for me? And he gave me this piece of advice that's really, it's really changed my ability to learn things because it's given me a strategy that's become very effective. And it's a big reason why I make a lot of content, actually. But he gave me this advice that I should, when I study or when I want to, basically his advice for his class was before a test, I should try to teach what I think I know to somebody else. Right? So if we're coming up on before the next test, get a whiteboard out and try to explain the concept that you're going to be tested over to another person. And I had never done that before, and that was a complete game changer. I think that was like my sophomore year of college, but from then on, that's how I would approach every exam preparation. Like I would read, I would study, I'd do all that stuff, but then the way I would sort of like gut check whether or not I really understood the material well enough is I would try to get out a whiteboard and communicate that, whether it be to my wife or to my dog who's sitting on the couch, but just pretend like I'm trying to explain it, teach it to somebody else. And that's completely changed the game. So I agree with you, Crow of Demise. Like when I have a hard time understanding stuff, I like to hear people. It helps me to talk through it or listen to other people talk through it. And yeah, and so going back to the whole content thing, that's a big reason why I make content a lot of times is because I want to explain the stuff that I'm doing and the stuff that I'm learning as a way to sort of, it's almost like a reinforcing loop. One, it shows me where my gaps in my knowledge are, and then two, it helps cement the knowledge that I do have. Okay, so this is doing exactly what I thought it was doing. So it's failing because of that exception. And then it's basically returning a failure message and it can't do anything. So interviewer. So it never gets down here, huh? Yeah, don't even worry about misspelling words in a YouTube chat, man. Don't even worry about that. I misspell words in emails that go to clients. Sometimes you misspell stuff. It's okay. That's why we have autocorrect. um Well, Steven, you should meet with him and interview him. Yeah, I should go meet with him, or at least I should send him an email and be like, "Hey, I don't know if you remember me. I took a class from you sometime in 2012 or 2013. I don't know. Maybe he does remember me." Hold on, I gotta check and see if my dog's down here. My wife sent me a message and she said, "Is the wiener with you?" Which we have a dachshund, and I was like, "Well, I don't think so." But there's like a couple blankets like piled up in the corner here, and he like my dog likes to sleep by like burrowing into blankets. So you can't really look at a blanket and assume he's not there. You sort of have to get up and actually like feel if he's not there. So, I will try to use that method so that I can pass the SPM. Yeah, try it, man. It was a game changer for me. I use it all the time now. Whenever I'm learning something new and I feel like it's not going particularly well and maybe I'm struggling with the concepts, disconnect. Because writing forces you to think in a similar way because you're trying to convey your knowledge in written word to somebody else. So writing or teaching. Can we get a pic of that fella? He sounds like a distinguished gentleman. Oh yeah, so he's not down here with me. He's upstairs. But if you go to my Discord, we have a pets channel in there, and there's pictures of him in there. I'll drop my Discord there for those of you who may want to join. Yes, Doxing gang for real. Mine's old too. Mine's 10 years? 11 years old? Yeah, he's an old man. Old man. Jack Russell, huh? Is your Jack Russell pretty high energy? Object reference not set to an instance of an object. Well, what's null? I think this is null, huh? Somebody's null. So that's kind of interesting. The workflow just ends. If it throws an exception, the workflow ends. Okay, so let me debug this one more time. Which I think makes sense that the workflow ends. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, like a lot of the Jack Russell Terriers that I've met in my life have been super super high energy, meaning like they kind of are like hyperactive and they barked a lot. So what is null? Is this null? Yeah, so agent res is null. Okay, so agent res is null because this agent is a mock. Right? So what we need to do is we need to actually return a response here. So we need to this is where the mocking comes in handy. Because now we can basically say, okay, for this call to run async, what do we want to return? And then that can drive all of this. So like, for example, I think what we could do is, at least in order to make this test complete the way we want it to, is we could actually say, we could say underscore mock agent dot set up returns async. Excuse me, that was a big yawn. Not enough coffee yet this morning. Needless to say, Chromium-based browsers are no longer supported on Android 9. It always sucks when you have technology that gets beyond support. Yeah, it sucks. Okay, so we can say when m dot run async is called, we can return a new agent run response, like that. And then I think all we have to pass in here is we just need to say it dot is any interviewer. So this is called with a IEnumerable, a chat message, a thread, and a cancellation token. So we'll say IEnumerable of chat message, and then we'll say it dot is any agent thread, and it dot is any cancellation token. Cannot convert from I'm confused. Why does that signature not match? Oh, it doesn't match because I need to put it dot is any agent run options. Yeah, it doesn't match because this method has a bunch of default values for the parameters. So if you specify, obviously in C#, if you specify parameters out of order, you'd have to name them. But when you're mocking something, you can't really do that. Or can you do that? I don't think I've ever done that. So can I just... Yeah, it's going to complain. An expression tree may not contain a named argument specification position. So I need to supply that. So this shouldn't throw a null reference exception anymore. So if we debug this, famous last words, right? But it shouldn't throw a null reference exception anymore, I don't think, because now we're actually returning an agent response. So see, this is an actual object. This isn't null anymore. This is going to step over. Let's see, what is this? The input does not contain any JSON tokens, so this is going to be an actual JSON exception, I believe. So if we step over, now we should actually get down to the interview res, which is null. And so when it is null, then we're going to return a result.fail. We're going to come up here. We're going to see data is question. No, data is not question. Data is not success, so the workflow exits. So I guess that's something I should probably think about. If it does fail, do I just want my application to exit, or should we try to ask a question? Yeah, I mean, should we like follow up again? I don't really know. I need to use this application. I actually need to like use it as a user to figure out how I want to handle all these edge cases. But we can definitely say run status dot ended. And then let's see what new events we have. Var new events equals run dot new events dot to list. It's interesting to step through the code and step through code like this very granularly and just see how all the pieces come together. Some vibe coders out there like, I could have built this with Claude code in 30 seconds with 10 agents running in 50 different terminals. Like, yeah, I'm sure you could, man. I'm sure you could. Okay, so the count is 7 right now for new events, but I think now that we're going to access it, hold on, what? Why did that break? That was just working. Wasn't it? What did I break? I broke something. But run status idle? Huh. Well, that's weird. It was just working. What did I do? I don't know what I did. Well, let's remove the mock. Run status is ended. That's fine. Okay, now let's put the mock back. Okay, so now it seems like it's working again. Oh no, YouTube counted an error. Action looks okay. Sometimes YouTube tells me there's something wrong with my stream, but everything else in OBS says it's okay. Let's see, at COD. Sorry, I missed a bunch of messages, guys. Money Man, what are you working on? I'm working on a LLM powered app to help me write blog posts. Oh, you guys are talking about stuff, things. Alright, none of it has to do with me. There's nothing I can help with there. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't ignoring you guys. Okay, so I guess I don't understand why. So if I include this response here, it breaks the workflow. I don't know why it does that. Run status idle. I've stumped myself. I've stumped myself. Let's see, okay, we step over here. Then we return null. What was the message? TypeScript, yep, that's me responding. New events. We have 8. Is there a way? I wish. So in Visual Studio, you can actually pop out these values. I wish they would bring that to VS Code. You can actually view this stuff like in a table. Okay, so we can kind of see what's happening here. We have our started event, the user, then we have interviewer, and then we have completed. event. And then here's our type information. So we have a failure. So how come the workflow doesn't exit though? Why does it say it's idle? Run status is idle. So does that mean like I could technically resume the workflow? The user has ended the run. No further events will be emitted, and no messages can be sent to it. So how would I actually end it? So what does idle mean? The run has halted, no outstanding request, but has not received request halt event. So how would I do that? Look, I'm still learning about the agent framework. So we have a request.halt event. That's new to me. Let's look at the code. I tell you what, being able to read code is a superpower. You don't have to go to docs. You can just go straight to the source. Halt. Yeah, there we go. Right there. Request halt event. Search for the symbol. Async run handle. So filter out the request halt event since it is an internal signaling event. Oh, interesting. It is internal sealed class. So this isn't something they expect me as the user to use. Test run context in process. So is this something I would call in my code here? So like if I did await context dot oh yeah, right there. See? So if I do this, what happens? So if I do that, but found status running. Interesting. Adds a request to the halt workflow execution at the end of the current super step. So I guess that probably just means you can react, right? This just means in your outer loop that you can react to that event. So if you request a halt async, then out here where you're emitting events, I think you could break, right? So you could say something like this. I think you could say case halt request halt. What was the name of that event? Interviewer. Yeah, but I don't think you can react to this. Adds a request to halt because it's an internal So it's an internal event. So why would you use it? I don't understand. Does anybody else ever feel like that? I don't understand. See, I can't do this because the request halt event is an internal type to this library, so I can't even do that. Hmm. So the question becomes then, why can you request it? If you can't react to it and you can't, if you can request it but you can't react to it, why would you use this? Await run dot. I'm gonna debug this again. Did whatever you changed just break everything? Yeah, I don't know. No, I don't think it did. I'm really just trying to figure out how this all fits together. You know what I mean? Like, that was a huge reason for huge reason for doing this project, was really learning this agent framework kind of inside and out. So I'm trying to take the time when I have moments where when my expectation of how something is supposed to function doesn't line up with how it really does function. I'm trying to make sure I take the time to resolve that delta instead of just speeding on, because this project is far less about the project and far more about the learning from doing the project, at least for me. So that's where, like, I'm not trying to speed rush through getting something built. I'm trying to make sure I take my time and make sure that I really understand how all the bits fit together. At least that's my approach at the moment. What's that say? Dove Drive? Nice. Ramon? Nice. Thank you both for the subscription. I really appreciate you guys. That's super kind. Actually, Dove Drive, hold on. I'm getting distracted again. But Dove Drive makes me think of a post I did on Blue Sky yesterday. And I want to share it with you. The Minecraft Wolfie. Hi, haven't seen a stream from you in a long time. Oh, really? Huh? Well, I've been here, man. Maybe our algorithms aren't aligned, so to speak. You know what I mean? But I'm glad you found your way back. I also moved my stream time quite a bit. So I actually moved my stream time to 4:15 in the morning. So 4:15 a.m. Central Standard. So that could also be why. Arvin Steven verse 1 cute little failing test. Yeah. And this was supposed to be our senior testing engineer. Yeah, it doesn't inspire much hope, does it? America's president is still Trump. Yep, Donald Trump is still the president of the United States. Arvin, how it all fits together? Magic. Let's see. The best way to figure stuff out is to reset your brain, do some breathing, look at a wall, do a kickflip on a skateboard. Yeah, I totally agree with that, man. After you spend a few hours in the chair, you got to get up and move around. See you later, Artwork Studio. Have a good day, man. Thanks for stopping by. Give yourself a little brain break. Yeah, I really should, but I only have 3 more minutes of the stream, so I'm gonna get a big old brain break here in about 3 minutes. What's the topic today? We've been, well, for the month of October, we've been working on this application called Casper, which is like, it's basically an LLM powered app that just produces like draft blog posts for me, or hopefully that's what it's eventually going to do. I mean, it does it, it just doesn't do it like well. so so I have to fix that part of it to make it do it better. But we're gonna do that till the end of October, and then when November starts, we're gonna start pretending to be a Go developer. I'm from Austria, where it's 11 a.m. Oh, nice. I'm in Kansas, in the United States, and it is 6:58 a.m. where I am. But I've been mainly streaming from 4:15 in the morning till about 7 o'clock in the morning, um, almost every day. On the weekends, I usually go a little longer, but that's been the that's been the schedule as of late. Excuse me. Whew. Excuse me. That was a big old yawn. Oh, I was gonna share a Blue Sky. That's what I was gonna do. Blue Sky. So someone mentioned, who was it? Somebody mentioned Dove. Oh no, somebody subscribed whose name was Dove Drive. And yesterday, this gentleman posted this comment that was kind of funny. He said, "I'm gonna create a free cloud backup service where you can upload anything you want, but it must be unencrypted. But in the terms of use, I get to browse it because I'm nosy as fuck and want to see what crap you have on your computer." And so I quote posted this and I said, "You can call it Stare Share. No, wait, Snoop Drive. Oh, even better, the Gawk Box." That person's name, Dove Drive, made me think of that. I mean, what a service! That would be kind of a funny project to build, wouldn't it? Like a prank project where you basically build a Google Drive clone, but it's publicly viewable. uh, God, that's how some people treat their social media, though. They treat it like a personal networks shared drive, but everybody can see the crap they post. There are some things that should stay in your head. They do not need to be shared publicly. "54 folks, man. Gosh, we've hung on to some viewers today. We don't usually have 54 people at the end of the stream. This is awesome. It's not the dumbest idea. It would certainly be kind of funny. I think it'd be hilarious. Have you guys checked out the Gawk Box lately? Seen what everybody else dumped on there? My wife, she works at a school. She's a she's kind of like a, not a teacher's assistant. She's like, her work is kind of specialized to deal with children who might need more, one-on-one attention. But she says, like, sometimes she has to explain to kids that, like, those are inside thoughts. We don't. And sometimes I feel like we need to have those conversations with adults in the way they use social media. Arvin, he can snoop my self-written document tree full of files having hashtag to-dos and empty files named something.text.to-do. Yeah, it's kind of funny, like, you go back and you look at your Google Drive or your OneDrive, and you're like, why do I still have this file sitting here? I low-key feel like the Gawk Box is just a good idea. I don't know why, but it'd be funny as fuck. I think it would be too. I think it'd be. .to-do is not a file format, is it? Oh, well, you can name a file anything. The extension just tells the operating system, you know, hey, this file can be opened by these applications, which the operating system knows these applications can read those types of files. I think is all the extension does. But the file itself just contains data. It's the program that opens the file that interprets that data in a specific way. Unless I'm completely, totally ignorant about what I just said, which I'm happy to be corrected. But yeah, I think you can name a file. You can come up with whatever file format name you want. You just need applications that can understand whatever you stick in that file format. Yeah, okay, there you go. Curve demise, there you go. He cosigns that you can make your own extensions. Oh, no, I don't think it exists. Oh, okay, yeah, so Minecraft. Sorry, I wasn't trying to I wasn't trying to mansplain to you. Uh, I thought you just generally didn't know that. But no, the dot to do thing, I think is just he made it up. It's funny. Yeah, the Gawk box though it's kind of funny because it's almost like it's like it's like a publicly accessible Google Drive, right? Let's think about this project if we were to do this as like a side project, right? So this is a website. It's a publicly accessible website. It doesn't have authentication or anything. Or maybe it does have authentication. Let's say it does have user identities. So you do have to sign up to use it. But it's like a publicly shared Drive account. People can put whatever folders in, they can put whatever files they want on. Obviously, you'd probably have to do some amount of content moderation, right? You wouldn't want people putting anything there, you know. But I think that would be kind of funny that it's a website that's meant to be browsable, but it appears like you're logged into some sort of storage service, some sort of cloud file storage service. That would be kind of interesting. It'd be an interesting way to present publicly accessible information or information that's meant to be publicly accessible. Yeah, otherwise the server costs wouldn't be worth it. Someone would just end up playing playing a 60 gigabyte file. Yeah. Oh yeah, this idea has all kinds of how could a user exploit this in a bad way type of scenarios. But it would be, I don't know. It just kind of when I saw that person subscribe and their username had Drive in it, it reminded me of that joke. All right, guys. Well, it's 7 o'clock here. I gotta go upstairs and say good morning to the family, refill my coffee cup, take a shower, get ready for work. Appreciate y'all hanging out with me. I'm really surprised that the stream currently has 50, 54, 40 something concurrent viewers at 7 o'clock. Usually by the end of the stream, it's just the OGs that are here. So I appreciate you guys hanging around and keeping me company. I guess before I go, just some housekeeping things. First and foremost, if you want to interact with me or chat outside of the stream, Discord is the best place for that. You can go to discord.stephenfreeborn.com. That'll get you to the right invite link. As far as stream schedule, the schedule I'm trying to stick to is basically start streaming at 4:15 each morning. That's basically the stream I'm trying to stick to. And then Monday through Friday, I'll end the stream at about 7 o'clock a.m. like today. On the weekends, though, like Saturday and Sunday, I might go later. But that's roughly the schedule I'm trying to stick to at the moment. So if you see me live, stop on in. I'd appreciate having you again. Hang out with me. Content-wise, I think for the stream, we're gonna stay on Casper because it's kind of on theme, and I'd like to keep working on it. We're gonna stay working on this project till Friday, and then after Friday, we're gonna switch over, and Steven's gonna become a Go developer for basically for most of the end of the year because I'm gonna do all of November in Go, and then most of my streams in December will be Advent of Code related streams, which I'll be writing or solving in Go. and then we'll figure out what happens after Christmas um, when we get to it. So that's the plan. So that's all my housekeeping things for the end of the stream. I hope you guys had fun here. I appreciate you keeping me company. I hope you have a great rest of your Wednesday if it's Wednesday for you. If it's Thursday for you already, have a good Thursday. And otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next one. See you, Crow of Demise. See you, Minecraft, Wolfie. Bye, Arvin. Anybody else that's still here, I appreciate you guys. I hope you have a good day. All right. Bye, chat. Bye. Bye, chat. Bye. See you guys.